Mark said at the end of Saturday's practice, you all did a little mini kind of scrimmage where the coaches went to the sidelines just to practice all the procedures. How did that go, and how's the progress, and maybe not being right behind them and telling them what to do?
Improvement, I think that's always the thing, is we rely, especially with a new coordinator, new system, so much of having guys out there helping people get lined up. I think there's always the adjustment when those situations happen, of guys being able to process on their own, and then also the conditioning piece, because plays start stacking up, and it was good to get them out there in that environment and see what they could do.
Daikiel said that the wide receiver room is obviously talented, but it's fun to coach. What have been your takeaways? Obviously, you had your first impressions of Barry and Dane, but now getting to know those guys and how they do on the field, what are some takeaways of what they do?
Yeah, I think it starts with great personalities in that room. I think certainly in my career, coaching quarterbacks, receivers, sometimes that receiver room can be a little bit more enjoyable on a day-to-day, but those guys are completely bought in. They really are. And again, I think the culture of everything Coach Stoops has established here, these practices are tight. It allows them to go out there and truly make every rep extremely important. We focus on speed off the ball. We focus on transition. That group is one of the groups that's getting better every day.
Barry and Dane both said at media days last summer that they both wanted to be 1,000-yard receivers, right? They wanted to be the best duo in the SEC, and they had strong seasons. But I think what kind of jump do you expect them to take here this year? What's realistic?
I never want those guys to put too much pressure on themselves with things like that. I mean, they're both NFL talent level receivers. And we got to get them playing extremely fast with a focus on their fundamentals. I think I was fortunate in 16 to have John Ross and Dante Pettis at Washington. It was a similar situation, and I think it's got to come right back to the joy, the love of the game, the love of each practice and getting better, because whether that stuff happens now or in a couple years, those are two guys we want playing for a long, long time.
All right, anything else?
Early in the spring about moving some guys around on the offensive line. How has that gone? Are you at that point now where you're getting some versatility in their different positions?
Yeah, I think we're getting some continuity. I think it's also tough, though, right? Just in general, of you got 3 different quarterbacks, you're rotating 6, 7 different offensive line. So it's always that battle of making sure you're seeing each guy in different spots. Are they a little more comfortable on the right side, a little more comfortable on the left side, but also for our quarterbacks, getting some cohesion, if you will, with things like cadence and communication. So it's been good. Again, favorite part of the year is spring, because you can sit down there, teach, give guys a chance to play different spots, and we'll continually look to work them.
Stoops talked to Saturday about the fine line in the spring between the big picture and the fine details. For you, where is the challenge in that this time of the year?
Great question. I just think that consistency term, it's what are we defining right now in the spring that's going to be with us in the fall? And I've really stressed with our guys 3 things: the urgency that each day they come out here with, the communication and what that's got to look like with how fast we will play at certain times, and then the focus on doing your job. And I think those 3 things, certainly with the schemes that we feel we are going to be implementing right now that are going to carry us throughout the years, is really what the focus is.
What is spring ball like here compared to the other places you've been?
Awesome. Obviously spring is, you're never going back in that locker room with a loss, so it's always good there. But I just, this is a really, really special place, and maybe one day I'll elaborate on that, but it's just, it's a great spot. These players are as happy to come to the facility as maybe any team I've been on, and it's a testament to the culture that's been set here, and so far it's been awesome.
Bush, we've asked you so many questions already since you got here about upping the tempo and things like this. I know every game, it's different to be on possessions, things like that. But I guess in your mind, you have a rough goal of how many plays per game you'd like to be able to run.
Not really. I think it's everything you said, where it's maybe never too far one way or another, right? The goal of the game is to win the game, and I think part of my role is putting us in the best situations to be successful. That's how we play on defense, how we play in the special teams game. I think we maybe averaged close to 70, 71 plays last year, which we were somewhere there in the top 25, top 30 from a standpoint of how many plays we were running. But again, I think the games really dictate that.
How's Brock looking?
Really good, really good. He's he's got the traits and the tools, certainly physically, to be a really successful player in this league. I think for him is just, again, it's still week 3 in the system, and he's such a smart player. Sometimes it's backing off for him a little bit. Just stay focused on what has to get done to execute this play, even though he sees the game in an extremely mature light. It's just keep it simple, and the focus is on consistency, one play at a time.
Deion Walker's side, is there one defensive player who's just consistently impressed you when you're having to go out there and call plays against this guy?
Yeah, I don't know if there's just one. We certainly in the quarterback room kind of have our DBs ranked and who to stay away from, and certainly there's players in that room that are doing a really, really nice job. But again, been impressed with the fronts, been impressed defensively. It's a hard defense to create explosives on, and I don't know if there's any just one that stands out right now. We'll know when Deion's out there for sure, though.
Obviously, losing Ray from last year. What's been the first impressions? What have been from practice with the running backs this year?
It's been a solid group. Not necessarily one guy day in and day out just jumping off as the clear favorite, but again, Chip's been a tremendous addition to this program. He's a pro. He knows what it looks like. Demi's really doing a nice job. We talked about Jason and him coming along. So that group's got some guys that have a lot of ability. We just got to continue to bring them along.
How was Wilcox doing?
He's doing well. He's a guy, we just got to keep things simple for him. I think he's doing a lot of thinking, but from a overall high-end talent, explosiveness, I think he's one of the better athletes on the team.
Coach Shorts talked about Hardley and how he's been coming along pretty quickly so far. What have you seen from him?
One of the best high school juniors who's a college freshman I've been around, you know what I mean? And so there's just something about him and his approach to how he works and practices. There's just this play in mind. He caught an outbreaker to the sideline. 99% of guys would have ran out of bounds. He stuck his foot in the ground, pushed vertical, and got extra yards for us. I just think his talent level, but the way he works and the type of person he is, if he can keep that combination going, he's going to be an exciting player for us for a long time.
What are your thoughts about the helmet communication so far with Brock? I know is they're trying to toe a line of not being in his ear too much versus trying to make sure you get everything across. How's that been so far?
Yeah, and you guys know I like to talk a lot, so I think I always tell him, like, we got a little thing that means, hey, man, shut up, I got you. And it used to happen to us in the NFL a lot, too. So I think it's, a focus for this offense is efficient communication. It starts with me in those situations to where I can get them to play. It allows you to get them one or two other coaching points on that play, but like you said, you got to be careful not giving them too much and allowing him the ability to communicate that to the other positions.
Is your transition to doing that, like, you think lesser because you've been in the NFL, like maybe guys in college, coaches, they maybe never really dealt with that before?
It's new in general, I think for the most part. I think there's some nuances certainly to the college game with doing it. We're not a huddle operation every play, so there's still the part of skilled players getting signals. So I think everybody around the country is kind of working through it right now.
Coach, we've heard a lot about Barryon's work ethic, the progress he's made. What have you seen from him since you got here, and how he's kind of responded to your coaching staff?
I think Barryon's a really good kid, and he practices really, really hard, which is a good thing. Obviously, if he didn't practice hard, that would be a problem. But the biggest thing with him, and we talk about this, is he just can't get frustrated, when other guys make a play, because he's human. He's not going to be perfect every play, but I do think he gives great effort. He's fun to watch. He's got elite talent, obviously, and now it's just, getting it out of him every day and then working on his mindset. He's doing a good job right now.
When the guys are that talented, he's as fast as he is, how much does he have to focus on the little intricacies of playing that position, and will that make him better?
Yes, I think, guys, with that much talent, and obviously his speed is what it is, they seem to lack the small details, and that's one thing that Barryon is, making strides to doing. He's starting to, focus on details, play with more technique, and become a more disciplined wide receiver. Coach Bush is challenging him right now as much as myself and Coach Verbois, and I think he's reacting pretty good to it. Obviously, we've been coaching that group and himself pretty hard. We just need to stay on him.
I know you talked about the first impressions that you had of that room, but now that you're getting to know these guys and you're starting to see them on the field more, what are some other details about the guys in that room that you weren't really prepared to know?
Yeah, one, I think that room's a really good room. They're all good players. They got some talent to them. Obviously, they wouldn't be here but they're just good kids. I mean, they're fun to coach. They're very coachable. You can kind of get after them, and they respond to it, and it's just been fun this spring. Obviously, we're in week 3, so the intensity and the focus needs to, stay up, which we're challenging them to do, and we just need to continue to work hard and go from there.
They've had 3 different quarterbacks in 3 years, like
Yeah.
Marion and Dane. Do they say anything about that? How they've had to, continue to adapt. It has to help them a little bit, but
Yeah.
they want some consistency. So how does that kind of balance?
Honestly, I commend those guys because they don't mention that at all. Neither of them have mentioned it. I think they're comfortable with Brock being here. They're comfortable with myself and Coach Bush being here, and they're just, trying to work and, become better players and better people as themselves, and then the rest will just take care of itself.
Frank was a guy who didn't put up huge numbers at UAB. What did you all like about him? Like, what does he brought to that?
Yeah. Well, Fred's a local kid, obviously, but his maturity, his mannerism, he's very businesslike. It's hard to get a smile out of that kid, but he does care, and he works hard, and he tries hard. I'm happy we got him.
And Hartley's a guy we heard good things about
Yeah.
last week. What did you see for him?
I mean, Harley's he's a remarkable kid, if I'm being honest. His parents did a great job with him. He's very fun to coach. He's got a lot of, swag and charisma with him. I mean, his talent, sky's the limit for him. But, one thing about Harley is, he works hard. Every play he goes 100%. If you told him to run 10 routes in a row, he'll run 10 routes in a row the best he can. But he's just a fun kid to coach.
Were you familiar with him at all in the recruiting process for
Yeah.
your previous house?
Honestly, I was not. But when I got the job here, Coach Sider from Penn State called me about him. I know they got family ties there, and then my brother was actually at Pitt, and he called me about him. So, they kind of told me about him, and then, he's phenomenal. He's a really good kid.
What makes a kid fun to coach? Like you
Yeah.
said?
Well, I mean, obviously, Harley's a Florida kid. Those Florida kids they got some stuff to them. They're a little different, but one, he works hard. You can kind of get after him. He takes the coaching. And then he goes hard. He's extremely talented. He's fun to be around. He's got a big, bright smile, which you guys will see the more you get around him. So it's just fun to be around him.
You mentioned the intensity, needing to stay up.
Yeah.
Is that ever a challenge? In spring ball, first week guys are pumped up, right? But then
Yeah.
it kind of does it ever lull, and how do you do that?
Absolutely. I think that's a challenge, but I think that's more so mentally. Bodies are tired right now. These guys are going through spring ball. Obviously, they're still handling their business academically, but you just got to challenge them, to want to be better. And then I asked them to challenge myself too as well, to keep my intensity up and, to not only challenge them to be better, but be better myself. So we're all in this together, and I think if we, keep that mindset, we can get better every day.
What have you seen from the run game aspect in,
Yeah.
in your group, and have they kind of embraced the same physicality talk that we've heard from Coach Stoops and Coach
Yeah.
Wolf up front?
Absolutely. So obviously we just got the pads on, but that's one thing we just talked about after practice today is just having the defense feel our presence a little bit more in the run game. So obviously that's something we need to work on moving forward. It's a new system, trying to work through the crinks, but definitely need to feel our presence in the run game and bring that physicality with us.
Obviously, when you were hired, Liam was still here. Now Bush is. Has any of your responsibilities changed just from that transition from one OC to another?
It has not. It has not. Obviously, Liam took a pretty good job, and we're lucky enough to get Coach Hamdan here. And I think, I'm bought in with his system. I think our guys are pretty bought in. So now it's just time to take the next step.
What is Bush like?
He's pretty. I mean, he's hard. He's hard. He's intense at practice. Now he's a good guy to be around. He's a good coach, but in practice, he's turned up. You got to be on your P's and Q's, or he'll get after you, whether you're a player or a coach.
It sounded like maybe Jamori wasn't full go, but what do you need out of him as the veteran in that group?
Just his maturity. I mean, Jamori's been at a couple different schools, so he's got a lot of experience on and off the field, and the maturity that he brings to the room to kind of bring those young guys with him, and then also for him to lean on Dane and Barryon and those guys to be able to kind of lead the room and mold the room into what we want it to be. We'll be excited when he gets going.
You mentioned a minute ago right there about Bush and the P's and Q's, attention to details. There been maybe one instance so far where you just really stood out like, wow, I was really impressed kind of him noticing that and really.
It's every play. It's every play. Yeah, it's literally every play. So, but I tell you what, one, that makes our guys better, and then two, not only them, that makes myself better as a coach. Just that attention to detail is so important, especially playing this game and this conference. So, just got to keep challenging ourselves.